Before we get into today's episode, we have to talk about one of our absolute favorites, Luigi's Pizza Fresca, home of the blue pizza. And listen, it's officially Philly season, which means the vibes are high, the games are on, and you need a go-to spot for food that hits every single time. Luigi's is that spot. Whether you're grabbing takeout before the game, feeding a whole group for a watch party, or honestly just craving really good Italian food, they do not miss. Their pizza, their pasta, everything is just unreal. And if you've got something coming up, bridal shower, a welcome party, game day hang, literally anything, their catering is so good, it makes your life 10 times easier. This one's also super personal for me because I grew up in their Marlton location, so getting to partner with them now is such a full circle moment. And we've got something for you. If you stop in, mention Pinned Up and Burnt Out, and you'll get 15% off your order. So, yeah, Phillies game on, Luigi's in hand. You really can't do better than that. Trust me. Good morning, Morgan. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I want to get into a little bit about who you are, where you're coming from, what cities you service.
Yeah, so I'm Morgan. I own Morgan Grace Photos. I'm a photographer. I'm based in New Jersey. I say Central. Some people don't like that. Based in Mercer County, New Jersey. I service all around the state as well as parts of Pennsylvania and New York. I really will go anywhere if someone asks me. I'm happy to travel. I love traveling, especially taking photos and doing what I love, so I'm really open to whatever. I mainly do engagements, weddings, grad photos, just kind of like portraits in general, but I love making them fun and different and like true to the client. And then I also do some branding work. So I've worked with different brands, whether that's hair salons, different people in the beauty industry, and then also I've worked with some other small businesses to bring their brand to life and really showcase that through photos.
Morgan, you have to tell everyone the story about how we met and how we ended up working New York Fashion Week together.
So you like slid into my DMs, kind of?
Correct.
No, you over Instagram, funny enough, and you asked me to come work the New York Fashion Week event for Modern Day Wife in Hoboken, and the rest was history. I came, took some photos, and here we are.
But we had never met. It was very
No.
much like a, hey, I really like your work and I need you here to take photos.
Did you post something on TikTok? Did I comment on something?
I think you did,
Okay,
yeah.
so
So I did initially I found you through TikTok
yes.
and I was like looking at some of your videos and I was like, this girl's hysterical. But also I feel like this is someone that if I was gonna have a camera in my face throughout, all of this, like it was someone that I could vibe with. It would match my
Yeah.
energy. What made you pick up a camera in the first place? Like what really pulled you into that creative path?
When I was in middle school, I had a fascination for cameras and I begged my parents to get me a camera. And I think the first camera I got was like a point and shoot. It was equivalent to what people have now of like the Canon G7X, a camera to take pictures of your friends. But I would go outside and like take pictures of like random things. And then in high school for Christmas, my mom got me like a little bit nicer of a camera. It was still a starter camera, but I would go to all the sports games at my high school and take pictures of everyone and just kind of like people just knew me. I would just go around and take pictures at their games and whatnot. And then I started doing photos for like my neighbors or my cousins. I would just offer them like, "Hey, can I take photos?" They weren't really that great, but it was a place to start. And then I went to college and I was in college for communications. I thought I wanted to do journalism and then I kind of pivoted to marketing and advertising. But while I was in college, I started doing a lot more grad photos. So I was taking photos every spring on campus And I really realized that it's something I love to do, and I couldn't really hide that passion. So then after I graduated, I started to lean more into it while I was working. And then I realized I can do it full time and I should try and do it full time. So I kind of put all my energy into photography and just started building a business. It's definitely like so terrifying, but I'm so glad I did it and I love it. So yeah.
Do you remember the moment when you realized, like, oh, this could be a real career?
Yes. So I started working full time right out of college, and in August of that year, I was not there for very long. I kind of realized that the job I was working was not what I wanted to do. And as much as like I had people around me telling me to stick it out, I'll find something else. First of all, the job market was terrible, so I was kind of like not finding anything else. And I kind of just got to the point where I was like, for my own sanity, need to leave this job. The people I worked with were so great, and I honestly, that was the hardest part. Like I felt horrible telling them, but I was like, this is not what I'm meant to do. I can't sit behind a desk all day in a cubicle and just like stare at a screen and pretend to work. It was just not for me. So I quit my job. I started looking for some other jobs. I actually started working for a photographer who my parents had known him, and I started working for him and his business, and he was very like flexible with my working hours and very much like telling me if you have a photo shoot just let me know because I worked for him all day, not just when he had photo shoots. He was a sports photographer, so there was always things to do. There was plenty of like teams and stuff to work on, but he was really flexible with my hours, which I like appreciated. And then probably in the spring of 2025, I started picking up more jobs like for my own. And that year, that January, I had actually established my business officially. And I kind of like talked to my mom about it. I was like, I don't know, like this is so scary. What if it doesn't work out? And my mom kind of gave me the perspective that was like, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, but you're not going to know.
Yeah.
And I am still young, so that kind of like helps play into it, and that kind of gave me more like peace of mind because I was like, if it doesn't work out, I can go look for jobs and find another career next year. So I kind of gave myself the year. I was like, if it doesn't work out by the end of the year and I'm not really making ends meet in that way, then I can figure something else out. But within the like first few months of like actually putting my all into it, I realized how much it did work out and it can work out. And I've only been continuing to grow since that moment. So I kind of had that realization like I can do this. That's kind of insane to me. And yeah, it just helps so much that I had such like a strong support system who was constantly telling me like I can do it.
Mhm.
And I will just say that when I did first decide that I was going to go into photography full time, I personally was terrified to tell people, even though everybody around me was telling me, oh, that's great, that's so exciting, good for you. In the back of my mind, I was so self-conscious about it, and I was telling myself that they're actually thinking, oh, she's doing nothing with herself. Why would she not want to work in corporate America? Why would she not go to get a job after she graduated college? So that was like my own insecurities getting the best of me. And that I think is what really held me back for the first few months because I was still telling myself that it was only going to be temporary until I found a job. It really just, I think that set me back a little bit because when I did finally start putting my all into my business, that's when I really kind of took off and I didn't feel like I was searching for clients. It started to feel like people were coming to me because they liked my work. And that just really solidified it for me that I was like, oh, I can do this.
I very much can relate in that sense of, working multiple jobs while you're trying to follow a creative passion because you want to make sure that you have that stability and you
Hmm.
want to make sure that the outside world is not thinking anything
Hmm.
less of you, you know? But at the end of the day, you have bills to pay, and sometimes when you're starting out, the money is not flowing right away. So I totally understand that. And I tell people all the time that the reason I pursued a career in hair was because the one person that I wanted support from in my career told me that hairdressers were a dime a dozen and that I would never make any money and that, eventually I would get tired of it and I would chase that 9 to 5 corporate life. So, of course, I did everything I said I was going to do and I made sure that that person was wrong because to me, that became my determination to be successful. I feel like we have to go through those moments to remember why we started.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say it helped that I feel like I knew photographers in my life that are successful with their career. So it kind of gave me a perspective. They had to start from somewhere. And maybe they didn't think it was going to work out, but now they're however old they are with kids and a family and they make it work. So I think that just helped. In high school, I also worked for a wedding photographer for a couple years. And I always like think back to her. She had a family and she was able to make a creative career work. And then there's just some other people, like people that my parents know that they are very successful in a creative field. And it just gave me a little bit more perspective. And I'm grateful for that because it's so easy to think that you're just supposed to work a 9 to 5, which, by the way, aren't even 9 to 5s anymore. They're 8 to 5 or
Yeah.
9 to 6. They're not 9 to 5s. But it's just, it's honestly so great to know that we can do the jobs we want. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a
You can do
lot of hard
anything you put
work.
your mind to.
Yeah, yeah.
What's something about your work that people don't often notice right away, but you care about a lot?
That's a really good question. I do care a lot about attention to detail in my work. So whether that's removing like an outlet on a wall or an exit sign, and I know a lot of photographers probably do this, but I just really hate when I think little things can make a photo look messy, I guess, even if it's a tiny thing. Like if there's like a sign on a door or like I said, like an outlet or an exit sign, or if I'm outside and there's like, random dead leaves on the ground, I will make sure that that is removed in all the photos. And granted, sometimes like I miss things. Sometimes I'm staring at a gallery for 8 hours and things get lost. But at the end of the day, most people don't even realize that kind of stuff. But to me, I really try to pay attention to detail just because I think the end result, it just makes it look so much better. And not only that, I feel like a lot of photographers have an editing style or like a standard preset. And I have my own editing style, I definitely do. But I like each photo to kind of feel true to that client and that session. So while still using my style, but my style is a lot more true to color, maybe like it's a little warm if you ask some people, but for the most part, I don't like just like slapping a filter on it and calling it a day. I really make sure that like each photo looks good with whatever edits I put on it, whether that's removing things or making sure the whites are true white or making sure the lighting looks good, just everything. And I'm sure most, if not all, photographers do all of those things. But from like a client perspective, I think a lot of clients don't realize how much work goes into like the post-production side of things where yes, it might take a few weeks to get your photos back, but that's because I'm literally staring at your gallery, making sure that every single
Yeah.
picture is perfect. And not to mention, galleries that I send for standard 1 hour sessions you're not getting 5 photos. I send a ton of photos, probably way more than I should, but that's just because I'm going through them and I'm like, oh, I think they'll like this. Oh, I think they'll like this. I like sending as many photos as possible if I think that they'll like them, especially because I'm a picky person. I try and keep that in mind when I'm editing photos. I'm like, maybe they'll like this one better. It takes a lot of time, but I try and put a lot of attention to detail in every photo and really just make sure that they're going to like all of the images that they receive.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure when you're going through a photo gallery. I thought for like 5 seconds that I was going to be a photographer. Here's the thing. I love taking photos of other people. I love taking photos of kids and families and animals. You need pictures taken of your dog, I'm your girl, right? I will get the best shot. But I've had to edit galleries for little shoots for friends and families like that in the past, and that in itself was so much. I can't even imagine 7 to 8 hours worth of coverage. Like, that's actually insane to me.
Yeah, I think the not the worst part, but like the most like daunting part is knowing you have to go through thousands and thousands of photos
Mhm.
and just look through them, especially like a full wedding day.
Yeah.
There's a
Because
lot of photos.
even though the wedding day is finished, let's say, like your work is not done. So
Yeah.
even though everyone's like, "Oh, she gets to go home now," it's like, "Oh no, she's going home and editing photos so that she
Yeah.
can send a sneak peek."
Yeah.
Like, the job
Yeah.
is not done until it's
Yeah.
done.
I'm going home that night and getting to work. And then
Yeah.
it's the weeks after that still working on them. So
So, what kind of energy brings out your best work, would you say?
I just love when people are friendly and happy and just bring joy to a session. I love talking to people. So I feel like when people are talking back or having conversations, even if it's not about the session, tell me about your day. What did you do last night? Like, how are you? Just everything. I feel like it just brings more comfort to a session. I feel like people, when they open up, they just feel more comfortable. And something about taking photos is a lot of people don't feel comfortable in front of a camera or they think that they don't feel comfortable. But when you really just like open up and you're just having conversations and you feel more relaxed, it really shows in the photos. I like being around all people, but I really just like when people feel like they can be comfortable around me.
I love a good candid photo. You were like killing it at Fashion Week, and you sent me all the candid photos, and they were phenomenal. Literally every single one that I went through, I was like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, oh my God, that's me. It's the best feeling. And especially when you're getting captured in your best moment, right? Where you're not focused on the person that's taking the photo, you're focused on something you're doing, or I would assume on a wedding day you're present in the moment. You're like being with
Yeah,
family, you're being with friends, you're getting that laughing shot.
yeah,
Those are some of my favorite photos ever.
yeah. I love those.
What does your brain feel like during a shoot? Is it calm, chaotic, hyper aware?
I feel like it depends. Sometimes I'm just in the zone and I black out. And then I'm like, okay, wait, I need to like. So, a standard shoot, I'm really just focusing on the details, especially if it's an engagement shoot or a graduation photo shoot. I've done those so many times that I know like what pose is going to come next. I'm going to direct them, I'm going to tell them what to do. We're going to chit chat here and there. I'm going to take some photos. I'm always excited to be there. I'm just always happy to be there. During a wedding, weddings are a bit different. So, during a wedding, I'm really just making sure that I'm capturing the small in between moments when I'm not, posing for like traditional portraits, but I'm also making sure that, I'm not in the way. I feel like those are such big days, and it's not just about the pictures as much as you want pictures of the day. I try to just be present with the couple and make sure that I'm getting photos of them in the moment and I'm not overstepping in a way. But then I also make sure that, you know, we're being on time with things because there is a timeline, unfortunately, with those things. And it does come with kind of being a little bit on top of things and just, having the courage to be like, all right, we're going to do photos in like 10 minutes and then we're gonna go do this. So just kind of a mix of everything. Like my brain is just always everywhere and I just try and stay on top of things, but stay present and relax as much as I can.
You got to be a good multitasker. That's
Yeah,
for sure. Any creative field, I feel like within the wedding industry, you have to be able to do 9,000 things at once with a smile on your face. And hopefully
yeah.
you took care of yourself that morning. Hopefully you ate your little like protein bar,
Right,
like
right.
drank your Red Bull. Oh, it's crazy. Would you say that you're more of a go with the flow creative or do you prefer structure? Like I know you mentioned the wedding timelines, how they're usually set down to specific times. But do you prefer that, or do you like being able to just walk into a shoot and say, oh, like, let's do this, let's do that, and just kind of go with the flow of it?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the shoot. For weddings, I do prefer structure. I meet with my couples a few times before their wedding and we make a photography timeline for them. I have them review it, then we review it together. We change anything. I have a list of all the family members they want photos with, who that family member is. Is it the bride's mother, the groom's mother, whatever? Just because weddings are such an important day for people, I don't want to miss anything, and I don't want to be the reason that somebody is upset or disappointed. So I'm always on top of things. And I really like to be organized for that. For other sessions, I do think it could be beneficial to go into them with a more relaxed approach because, like I said, I feel like people can be more comfortable that way and not feel like there's as much pressure, and then it just creates better photos. So it definitely depends on what I'm photographing because it's beneficial for both. It just really depends.
What inspires you right now that has nothing to do with photography?
I would seriously say, like, my family, my friends, when I see how well people around me are doing and how determined they are, it really just inspires me to be better. And I don't have somebody writing my paychecks every 2 weeks, so I know I have to push myself that much harder. And when I see other people, succeeding in their careers and getting promotions and loving their jobs, it really just inspires me to have that for myself. And I know I can have that for myself, and I do. It just, requires me to be a little bit more determined and have that grit to want it. So, yeah, I would really say like the people I surround myself with inspire me on a daily basis.
And do you think creativity comes naturally, or is it something that you've had to work at?
I think it's a little bit of both because I've always thought of myself as a creative person. When I was little, I just loved all things art and whatnot. That doesn't mean I was necessarily good at it when I first started. So I think that you can have a creative drive and you can think creatively, but that doesn't mean it's just you're naturally going to be good at it. You still have to work towards it. And also, some days I'll wake up and I'll have like such great ideas and I'll have like this creative spark lit and I'm like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this." And then some days I wake up and I'm like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do for this shoot. I have no ideas. So it really just comes down to working harder at it. So while I know I think of myself as a creative person, it doesn't always come naturally, like the creativity. Sometimes it requires a little bit more work or just trying a little bit harder. So
Do you feel like your work performs the same online as it does in real life?
I don't know. I feel like when it comes to my own social media accounts, I'm not good at posting stuff. Like when you can't see a full gallery of
Mhm.
things, or you can't see how I'm interacting with clients and stuff, you don't get the whole picture. And I know that a lot of other photographers or creatives in the industry do post a lot, and people who follow them can see how they interact with people. They can see like all of their work. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm not that great at posting online constantly, and I try to because I'm like working on something. I'm like, oh, I should post something on Instagram, and then I'm spending an hour looking through my photos trying to figure out what to post, and I'm like, oh, this is taking way too long. Why did I even bother? Like, I'm trying to find the perfect photos, pick out the best ones from the session.
You're also your own worst critic. So,
Yeah,
on top of that, you just took all of these photos. So now it's your job to figure out which one is the best one. And how do
yeah,
you pick one photo?
yeah,
How do you go to do a carousel and you're like, I love, these three photos, but this one maybe isn't my favorite. Could we use a different one? And then you're like, but then it changes the structure of the
yeah.
carousel. I totally understand.
No, exactly.
Have you ever changed your editing style or like the way that you shoot an event or a wedding?
My style, no. because a lot of people like will find photos on Pinterest or something and screenshot them and say, I want this. And it's a very specific style. I know for a while, a lot of people were into those dark and moody photos that were like very like orange and brown heavy. And I think that's great. I think those are beautiful photos. I personally don't think that reflects what I do and what I'm trying to create. Like when I look at a photo, I want to enhance it. I don't like doling things down, or I don't want to, like I said before, just slap a preset on it and call it a day. I really like enhancing a photo. I have fun doing that. Like I like going through all my photos and making sure that every single individual photo looks good. And I think a lot of like trends that I might see online, while they look good on that specific photo, it's not always going to look good across the board. So I like to make sure that like my galleries are cohesive and not only does like one photo look good, but they all look good together, especially if people print out photos and put them in an album or they want to like hang them on a wall. Like I want to make sure they all look good together. I mean, I don't necessarily think I change based on what I see as popular. Also, photos that are popular right now might not be popular in a month. I feel like in like the photography world, there's always trends with different looks of photos, and it's easy to get caught up in that, but I do want things to be timeless. I know people always say timeless, and there's not really
It's true.
a such
I think it's true. You want to be able to look back at these photos in 10, 20, 30 years and not be like, oh, I'm so mad that that's the updo I chose because that's what was in
right,
2012. Like
right,
we're not doing the braided texture buns anymore. Like it's
right,
out. It's not
right,
it. We're
right.
done.
And I mean, every time period is going to have something that is from that time period. That's just how it is. The 2012 chevron and teal, like, I'm sure they thought that was like gorgeous and perfect. And now it's like, who would, you don't do that. But, or like the neon colors. So I think every time period has something that, at the time you don't even realize is going to go out of style. But I don't like to create my photos with like heavy edits and things that, you're gonna look back at and be like, why does it look like that? Especially everybody has an iPhone now. Everybody takes tons of pictures. And I think when you're, kind of looking at your professional photos, I want your photos to almost be reflective of like what that day actually looked like. I edit my photos a lot and I do take the time to really edit them. There's a lot more editing than people might realize, but I just don't want it to look like it's a cheesy filter from like Visco or something or like
Yeah.
an editing app where you're like, so I just like to, make sure things as timeless as they possibly can be. But that's not to knock anyone who doesn't do that because like I said, they're trendy for a reason. People like them. There is a huge market for it. It's just not what I like to do.
And you definitely will attract the type of clients that you want to have if you are, I know you said social media isn't your favorite factor of this industry, but when you're posting things, you're posting to attract the type of clients that you want to have.
Hmm.
And by you posting photos that you have edited in a specific way, people are going to see that and be like, oh, well, like, I love this aesthetic. I love
Yeah.
the way her feed flows. And I think a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to find your flow.
Yeah.
Like when you're a creative, it's very easy to nitpick everything. So
Yeah.
once you find a flow and it feels like it's very like natural and kind of meant to be with the type of clients that you're booking, you have to run with it because
Yeah.
that's what makes it special. That's what makes it your work versus someone
Yeah.
else's.
And also, I feel like because I feel like I do a lot of different things. I mean, they're all in like the same category, I guess, but if I'm taking engagement photos in New York City versus the beach versus a random open field during golden hour, they aren't all gonna have the same vibe, but I want them all to be, you know, true to color, true to that session. And I like to say that my photos are like light and like full of color. I don't like to like dull things down. I don't want to take away from that moment. I want you to look at the photos and remember it. So while also keeping it kind of cohesive because those are three different settings, right? So they're all gonna look very different when editing them. But I think for me, like my most important thing is kind of keeping it true to what it is.
Who are you outside of work?
Outside of work, I like to run. I run a lot. I'm actually running a half marathon on Saturday, and then I'm running the New York City Marathon in November.
I have a friend that ran the New York City Marathon. It's
Really?
like hard to get into, isn't it?
Yes, it's very hard to get into. I've been trying for the past 3 or so years. I've applied to the lottery, never gotten the lottery, and I've tried to get in with nonprofits, and I didn't until this year. So now I'm running with the Be Positive Foundation. They're an organization I worked with a lot in college. They raise money to help fight childhood cancer, but they also raise money to help the families. So they help provide funding to the families when they can't pay bills or they can't pay their car payment because they're spending so much money and time at the hospitals. So that's an organization that's super near and dear to my heart. So I'm so happy that I'm running it for them. I have to raise money for it. I'm really excited to do that. So yeah, I love to run. I tell myself that at least sometimes when I have to wake up to run because I'm training, I'm like, wait, I don't like this right now. But most of the time I like to run. I just think it's fun. It clears my head. It gives me a break. Like when I'm editing or answering emails or sitting at my laptop all day, it's nice to just be like, I'm gonna get up and go for a run and go get some fresh air and some activity. So that's something I love to do. Also, when I'm not spending my weekends photographing things, I just love spending time with my family. I think that's super important to me, just being with my family. And my boyfriend, Ryan, we've been together since we were 16. So I,
Wow, that's a long
yeah,
time.
yeah, all through high school and college. We went to two different colleges too. So, but now we live in the same town. So both back at home. So I spent a lot of time with him. And yeah, I just like being around good people and doing things that make me happy. Also, with running, I wanted to say, I feel like running really helps with like my determination because you're not always motivated to go for a run, but when you're training for something, you kind of have to. So I feel like it puts me in a different mindset where, so I'm so used to like, I I get to do this. Like, yes, I kind of like have to train for it, but like, I get to do this and it brings me more like gratitude. And I kind of translate that over to my work. Like, I get to do this. So on the days where I'm like super burnt out and I have a lot of editing to do, I'm like, I get to do this. So I feel like running really just helps me be set into that like different mindset and looking at things from a more like positive perspective, if that makes sense.
My next question for you is going to be, do you think burnout is avoidable in creative careers? So you just answered that. That was perfect. What does success actually mean to you right now? Now, whether that's with photography, in your personal life.
I think success is such a vague term and it can be described differently by literally everybody. But for me, I find success in just knowing I can accomplish the things that I'm trying to do. Um, Knowing that I'm working hard and I am achieving those things and even just setting small goals for myself and achieving them. Like it's so easy to always want more and more and just like getting into like a tunnel vision of like always wanting to get to a different point and not getting there. And I think that can kind of really set you back. So I think it's really important to know like we can all be successful if we set small goals for ourselves. And that's what I like to do. So I think I'm successful. I'm not the most popular, well-known photographer. I'm not a billionaire, but I think I've started something I really wanted to do. I'm working at it. I think I'm doing pretty well for myself, so I think that's success and, just doing something you love and being able to work at it.
If everything disappeared tomorrow, Instagram, bookings, all of it, what would you do? you were saying earlier how like, you were jumping before from other jobs that, were paying the bills, but it wasn't what you were like super creative and like most passionate about. So if the worst of the worst happened and everything disappeared, what would you do? What would your next plan be? Would you go after a career that, now that you've seen you can, do it when you set your mind to it? Is there any careers that you've ever wanted to explore or anything that you think you would be good at?
Actually, yes. Always liked graphic design and graphic art. And if I wasn't doing photography and I had kind of a clean slate to put all my energy into something else, I feel like it would be so fun to start like, a merchandise business. Or I liked making like graphic art. I don't know if that makes sense. Like when I was in college, I was in charge of the merch. So I made like all the merch for it. And it was just so fun drawing it on my iPad and then like seeing it like come to life when we would order it and it would come in and then people wearing it around campus. I was like, I made that. So I feel like merchandise, but specifically like designing like graphics for it, if that makes sense.
What is your toxic trait as a creative?
One, I have a hard time saying no to things and people, and I feel like that makes my to-do list that much longer or my schedule that much busier. I have a hard time saying no to people, not even for my own benefit. I just feel bad. So even if it's like not has nothing to do with photography, even in my personal life, I just have a hard time saying no. So I feel like I'm always taking on more than I can handle. It's not so much that I procrastinate things, it's that I will do like less important things first or things that in that moment feel super important, but then the next day I'm like, I should have did this. I should have got this done already, but I didn't. And just finding little things to do that can be done at another time and I should not prioritize them. So yeah, not prioritizing the right things. Sometimes that gets me. I feel like I say not prioritizing the right things. If I don't have a photo shoot one day over the weekend or something and I make plans to go do something, I literally feel guilty for not working.
Hmm.
And it's so bad. Like I'll be checking my emails on my phone or I've brought my laptop before. I've been like, I just in case I have to like get something, I just have to finish this up. I feel guilty when I'm not working, but then when I am working, I'm like, oh, I wish I could be doing, something with my friends right now. Like, oh, I'm sad I got had to miss out on that this weekend. But then when I do have the opportunity to do something with my friends or my family, I'm like, oh, let me try and get this done. So I feel like that's another thing that is like so rough because I never know like what I should be prioritizing. I know it's so important to prioritize like relationships in your life, but then I'm also like, well, I'm running my own business. Like I have to get this done. I have to answer these people. I don't want them to think I'm not good at responding. So things like that is it just really gets me. And then also with like the running, like how I, run, sometimes if I'm like, oh, I have a running schedule this week and today I have to go run 4 miles, part of me is like, I don't have time to go for a run today. I have to get this stuff done. Then it's like, well, now I'm not prioritizing other things in my life. So I feel like it's like a constant battle with myself. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
So how would you say you navigate that? Like, how do you handle not reaching that point of burnout, of feeling like your brain's in too many places at one time?
When everybody else is at work, I'm working. Like, I'm up every day. Like, I'm making sure I'm like on my laptop by 7:30 or 8 a.m. And then I'm working till 5 o'clock or whatever it is. And then after that, I, you know, make sure I have dinner. I like to like take a break for the night and not kind of reach the point where I'm like working from 6 a.m. to like midnight because that's just not healthy for anybody. And yeah, and then during the day, so if it's a nice day out and I'm like, I don't want to wait till 5 o'clock to go for a run, I'll go for a run around noon, or I'll go in the morning, or whatever it works. And I just kind of build that into my schedule. So I'm like, okay, I took an hour to go for a run. I'm gonna work for an extra hour. kind of just giving myself boundaries of when I should be working, how much I should be putting into it. And if I know I have something coming up where I'm like going out with friends or family, I just try and make sure I have as much as I can get done beforehand. And if I get an email while I'm out, I really try not to look at it. I really try. It's really hard though. Like I
Oh,
said, I don't want people to think I'm not answering them. And most of the time when people are reaching out for a service like photography, they're probably reaching out to, five other people as well. So I always get like, oh, I feel like I should be answering. Somebody else is probably answering them, but I definitely try and give myself a break. I will say like with yesterday being Easter, I got like four emails and I was like, I'm not answering anything today. It can wait till Monday. But yeah, just giving myself those boundaries because I do think it's easy to get burnt out, especially when you're working for yourself. So, yeah,
yeah. Well, like you said, at the end of the day, there's no one writing you your paycheck, you
right.
know? It's the work that you put into it and the drive that you had behind your work that week. One of my old cosmetology school teachers who he has obviously since left the school. He opened his own space. He has two locations now, and his whole family is incredible. And he has had this business for a few years. And one thing that he said to me prior to him opening up his own space, he said a few things, right? The first thing was work smarter, not harder. And as silly as that sounds, because we probably say that all the time or hear that all the time, I apply that to my workload every single day. I'm like, work smarter, not harder. Okay, could I be killing two birds here? Could I be, doing this project, but also listening to this and making sure that this sounds okay? Could I,
Mhm.
be sitting down to eat lunch with my kids, and while I'm doing that, I can write out my grocery list for the day. Like it sounds so simple, but how can I get it all done without making more work for myself, you
Mhm.
know? And then the other thing that he told me was, you're only as good as your last client. That's something that I I feel like it's tattooed on my brain because we're in the age of social media, and social media puts a lot of pressure on creatives. At least I think. It's a
Mhm.
great tool for sure, and it's a great way for exposure. Honestly, I think back to when I first started in the industry and not having social media be as big as it was, and I'm like, how did people run businesses without Instagram and TikTok
Yeah.
and all the things? You don't realize how crucial it actually is, you know? But from the outside perspective, that's what people are seeing all the time. So like you could be sitting at home and, working your ass off doing X, Y, and Z, but people can only see that the last time you posted on social media was 3 months ago, and it was only one photo. It wasn't, like multiple things they could look at. They want something tangible. They want something that they can immediately get gratification from and something that
Yeah.
they can get their answers from right away. So I won't necessarily say it's a New Year's resolution, but one thing that I'm really trying to work on this year is, remembering that I'm only as good as my last client.
Yeah.
So, what am I showing the people that are coming to my business? What am I showing people that are coming to my social media? Everyone has a day, right? Everyone has a day where things might just go completely wrong and not the way that you had planned. But it's what you make of that situation and how you handle yourself in that situation that really explains who you are as an artist, I think. Because
Yeah.
for us, at least, I think in the photography world, it's probably a little bit easier to rebook past clients. Let's say they get married and, they do a vow renewal. They're going to be like, hey, Morgan, you shot our wedding, or you did our engagement photos, or you did whatever. We really want you to come back and do it again. There's an opportunity to rebook. Or, hey, you did our wedding. We love those photos so much. And now our daughter is graduating high school, or like something where they could reach out to you because they had such a great experience with you. That's one thing that I really take pride in. And it's a lot harder for bridal hairstylists to rebook clients because
Mhm.
usually we see a bride for their bridal preview. and then we see them on their wedding day. And then
Yeah.
that's it. We might follow them on Instagram and get the updates of when they're having babies and doing all the things. But outside of that, there's really not an opportunity for us to rebook that client. So everything we post matters. Everything that, we're sharing out to the world. So for me personally, I started posting things that weren't hair related. I'm like an avid line dancer. So although you could never pay
Yes,
me
I
to
see your
run,
TikToks. Wait, I love that. When
although
I
you
tell
could
you, I've been wanting to get into line dancing so bad. Like, I have such a fascination with it.
but you should come.
I have been wanting to go there so bad. Like,
Yeah.
that looks so fun.
It's so much fun and it's so good for you. It's all muscle memory. And my grandfather actually, before he passed away, he had Parkinson's. And when he would have his therapy sessions, they would be doing things like tap your toe here and tap your toe there and move your hands and do this and that. And they just kept saying, it's muscle memory. Like we're reteaching him muscle memory. And one of the very first people when I walked into Prospectors, I was so scared to be there because I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I wasn't a dancer growing up. I did competitive all-star cheerleading, but it's not the same as like dance.
Yeah.
So, I'm walking in there with all these people that have a crazy dance background and you can tell that they've been line dancing for years and I'm like nervous, I'm nervous. The only way you're going to learn is if you just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like once you start to get in the swing of it and you're going consistently, your body just does it for you. I can't walk through a grocery store without hearing a song that's a line dance. And when it comes on, I can't not do it because my body's
Yeah.
like, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it really is, it's so good for you. What is something trending right now in our industry that you love versus something that you cannot stand?
I love I don't know if it's necessarily like trending, but I feel like people are more so moving back to the traditional look of weddings. I feel like for a while we were in a backyard barn scene, and I feel like now we're moving back into a more traditional looks, those big like elegant looking venues. Like I think that's gorgeous. I guess it's kind of trending right now, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I would say
I
so.
love that.
More modern. It's like modern with that touch of tradition.
I love when like weddings look like they have this classic traditional feel to it. And I love when brides have like the long veils for the ceremonies. That is beautiful. I love that. Hate or don't like is kind of hard because I know like everybody has their own taste and likes to do their own thing. And something that I like don't like is the push for weddings to be just about photos, if that makes sense. I feel like I see a lot
Yeah.
of things in the industry where it kind of just becomes about photos, and that could be on like the client's end or the photographer's end, but I feel like it's so important for like everyone involved to know that there is a bigger reason for that day. And photos are super important, and you're going to look back at them forever and love them. But it's also important to look back at them and see like the moments as they happened rather than just like making everything a photo op. With that said, like by no means am I only like a documentary style photographer. During the bridal portraits, I guide you through poses and everything. Other than that, like the getting ready, we can do a few group photos here and there, but I don't think everything needs to be a staged show, if that makes sense. I don't ever push people to have a first look. I know that it does, help with the timeline of the day and kind of saves you some time to get photos beforehand. But especially if you're having like a traditional wedding ceremony, like at a church, a religious ceremony, most of the time you have a large break between the ceremony at the church versus when you go to the venue for cocktail hour. So when it stays like that, I'll never push for a first look because that is like a religious ceremony that you are, participating in. And I understand wanting to keep the tradition of not having the first look and then taking photos after. So that's something I don't ever really push for. When it's not a ceremony at like an offsite location and it's at a venue, I do just remind people that Usually there's only an hour between the ceremony and the reception, and that's cocktail hour. And you're probably going to miss your cocktail hour if you don't do a first look. But by no means does that mean you have to do a first look because I know it's important for a lot of people to, see each other the first time when they walk down the aisle. So that kind of ties into the whole like not making it like a photo op and not making the entire day about like a staged photo shoot, just kind of doing what the couple wants, but also, letting them know that you are gonna have to take photos during cocktail hour if you don't do a first look, but you don't have to. So that's just kind of something I don't really entirely agree with. Like I think the day should kind of just be,
It should flow. It should
yeah,
be natural. It
should
should
flow
feel
naturally.
like you're there to experience something, like you said, and you don't want to lose sight of that because you're super focused on the photos. You want to be
Exactly.
present in the moment because when you look back at those pictures, you're going to say, "Oh, did Morgan just pose us for that picture? Or was it a candid moment while, we were dancing and we were living our best lives, like having the best
Right.
time?"
And even
That's
with first looks, yes, they're like kind of set up, I guess, like they're staged, but they can still be like a really cute, intimate moment. It doesn't have to be entirely like strictly guided. I'm gonna set you guys up, but then like I'm gonna walk back here and you guys are just gonna take it in and like not guiding through the entire thing because again, like it still is about the couple.
Well, thank you, Morgan, so much for being here. I'm glad that we were able to hop on the pod and chit chat.
Yes, me too.
Let everyone know here where they can find your work.
Yeah, my website is morgangracephotos.com. My Instagram is Morgan Grace Photos, my TikTok, Morgan Grace Photos. So yeah, you can find me on any of those. And if you want to inquire, there's a contact form on my website that you can fill out. And yeah.
All right, you guys, before we wrap up, this episode was brought to you by Luigi's Pizza Fresca, our full season sponsor. And yes, still the home of the blue pizza. And at this point, you already know the deal. It's one of those spots you can always count on. Whether you're grabbing something quick after a long day, feeding a group, or just in the mood for really good Italian food that actually hits. And if you have anything coming up, a party, a shower, a game day, whatever it is, their catering is such an easy win. No stress, no overthinking, just really solid food that everyone's going to be obsessed with. They're open 7 days a week, super convenient, and their Marlton location is always worth the stop. Don't forget to mention Pinned Up and Burnt Out for 15% off your next order.